I want to talk about why the calm approach works. Well, because it's inherently reflected in your state of mind, in your state of being. The calm approach is inherently based on being reconnected with your dog. When you're reconnected with your dog, you're in the present moment. You're seeing reality. You're just seeing your dog perform a behaviour. You're not in your human conditioned mindset. You're not trapped in that mindset, which means you're not judging, blaming, being angry towards your dog, feeling resentment towards your dog because of the behaviour that they're performing, the undesirable behaviour that you don't like and that you label as being bad, even though that behaviour is normal from your dog's point of view in any given situation, because it's based on their emotional state at the time. So when we're not in our human conditioned mindset, that means we're not attached to an outcome. That means we're not thinking of it from our point of view. I'm sick of hearing my dog doing this, or barking, or running up and down the fence line, jumping on me. I don't want my dog to do that. I need my dog to stop barking. I want my dog to stop barking. So when we are reconnected with our dog, we're not sitting in that mindset. We're simply a human being in a state of empathy, compassion, joy, and warmth. That also gives us a playful aspect to the situation. That means we also find solutions. We see answers in that situation rather than creating more problems for our dogs. So I want to talk about the footage here that I have. Okay, so the calm approach. Calm approach means that you prepare. So seeing Morty coming when I call him, or just coming back from his walk, that is helping him to understand when I make that gesture of him beckoning him towards me to come to me. He's going to do that when he comes back from a walk. So basically you can see how I've used that real world situation to my advantage in order to get Morty to come when he's being called or gestured, which is what you couldn't see in that video. So when you're using the calm approach, you're reconnected with your dog, you plan ahead, you actually see real world opportunities that you can use to your advantage to be of benefit, not just for yourself in other situations, but to your dog, because we're also creating pleasant associations with that very situation of him coming to me when I'm asking him to. So let's look at another one. What does a calm approach mean, and why is it working? Why does it work? Well, when we're reconnected with our dogs, what we also see is we recognise patterns. So in this video here, you can see Morty's got his head resting on his stuffed toy, which is a hamburger. It's the shape of a hamburger. But it was a really very noisy day because we had lots of dogs barking, and so he was becoming unsettled. So he was chewing on his stuffed toy in order to self-soothe. So these types of behavioural patterns I recognise in Morty, and I actually understand what his emotional state might be in that situation. So once again, using a calm approach, I'm anticipating that it's likely that he may get up and bark at something that may trigger him to bark. And in this case, there was a lot of noisy dogs barking in their backyards because they're home alone with nothing to do. So me anticipating that for Morty, I basically help him to feel some emotional satisfaction and turn that situation into a pleasant association for him by simply just scattering a little bit of kibble in his snuffle mat. And here he's sniffing, enjoying that. He's in his happy place. And he's gaining emotional satisfaction from that. He's not just sitting there becoming more uncomfortable in that situation, listening to all the noises that are happening and having a deterioration in his emotional state that is going to make it a more negative one from his point of view. So you can see here, he's enjoying this, and this has been going on for, well, a couple of minutes at least. But doing this at random times of the day, especially when it's very quiet, you're actually desensitising your dog to potentially uncomfortable and situations that may actually cause them internal conflict with respect to how they're feeling. So as you can see, Morty's still having a really great time here. He's enjoying his food puzzle toy there, his snuffle map. And he's been enjoying this for a couple of minutes. But I've actually also, in the meantime, I've made some white noise in the background by turning on the taps and also putting on the microwave, heating up a cup of tea to keep it a little bit noisy, so he's not actually being stimulated by the barking that's happening in the background. And you may have heard that barking happen intermittently. So there we go. We've actually made a nice situation, a potentially conflicting situation for Morty, into a nice one. And that's going to have positive consequences for him when I'm wanting to ask him to come back to me in more challenging situations that are a little bit more stimulating and triggering from his point of view. So once again, dogs learn by association. Here we can see Morty sitting at the front door. Now, once again, people were walking past. A car had parked out the front and left. And so this was stimulating Morty to want to run to the front door and bark. And so that very sharp, focused mental expenditure of energy into barking, that's pretty powerful from your dog's point of view. And so it can take them quite a while for them to come back down to a baseline level with respect to their arousal levels, where they're able to feel comfortable in a situation where they can perform basic requests. Now, in this situation, I didn't want that to escalate with Morty running to the door or barking again, so I used this opportunity to get his attention, ask him to come down, but also give him something that's going to create a pleasant association, which is just, once again, as you can see here, just another scatter of kibble on the floor for him. And I'm just going to talk to him nice and casually and finish the situation there. So this is in real time. This is happening in real time. Nothing was planned. It was just a situation that I anticipated because I'm reconnected to my dog. I'm understanding what his emotional state potentially could be in a situation and looking at his body language clues and recognising the patterns in his behaviour in certain situations to anticipate when I should plan ahead and try to avoid those or manage those situations even before they've occurred. So let's look at the final one. Now, this is the most simple thing that you can do. I wondered where Morty was because it was a nice sunny morning, and I thought I'll just go and have a look. And this was about an hour and a half, possibly a little bit later than the previous footage. And I saw him sitting out there, so I poked my head around, and so I went back, turned the camera on, and I just got a little handful of kibble. And what I did, watching Morty, watching him just enjoying being in the sun, but I didn't want to disrupt him from that lovely calm behaviour because that's a nice pleasant association for him. So what I did, I just calmly and nonchalantly walked up to him without disrupting what he was doing and just made that experience and that association with that environment at that point in time even more rewarding for him. So when I'm talking about why the calm approach works, it's because when you're reconnected with your dog, you're focused on a whole fractal of a lot of things that aren't laborious because they're second nature. As I mentioned, we're not judging, blaming, or feeling resentment or anger towards our dogs for performing the behaviour. We're not in our human conditioned mindset. I don't like that. That's okay, but that can't happen. This must never happen. My dog must do this. They're not allowed to do this. They've got to be quiet. Everything from our human conditioned mindset is attaching us to a specific outcome, and we're going to be creating more problems for our dogs. So I'm hoping that you can see the value in what I've shown you today about using the calm approach, which is another way of saying being reconnected with your dog, because when we do that, we have actually shifted into consciousness. We take conscious action, and we're living in the present moment. And when we practice that, even at random times of the day, just rewarding our dogs in those very quiet times when they're sitting quietly, as you saw in that last piece of footage, what we're doing is we're creating pleasant associations, but we're also helping our dogs to understand that the consequences of their own actions are going to be positive. As you saw asking Morty to come to me, there was affection, there was pleasant associations with his name, there was a reward from his point of view, and this consistent approach, being the calm approach when we're reconnected with our dogs, is going to engage our dogs' learning pathways, and it's also going to help them to be able to just perform basic requests and understand that the consequences of their actions are always going to be a positive one because they can trust us. When we're reconnected with our dogs, we aren't going to cause psychological or physical harm to our dogs. So I hope you've enjoyed the footage. I hope you've enjoyed some of the wisdom that I've imparted to you today, and that you'll put that into practice and reconnect with your dog. We'll talk again soon.